Hi, and welcome to the last regular season edition of Penguins Shootout on Herald-Standard.com. I'm your host, Rob Burchianti, and with me again is Derek Day, Herald-Standard.com sports writer. And the Penguins ran into a little bit of a snafu there in the last couple of weeks down the stretch. It was called the New York Islanders, and then they also had a problem with the Flyers too. Interesting last couple of weeks of the season, huh, Derek?
Yeah, they had the chance. The turkey was on the table, as Mike Lang says during the Penguin broadcast. They had the chance to catch the Rangers in the standings for not only the Atlantic Division title, but the top seed in the Eastern Conference with two games back to back, a home and home with the Islanders, and the Penguins just laid an egg in both games, lost those potential 4 points, and
both by 5-3 scores.
And kind of just fell into that role of playing the 4 seed, and ultimately against the Flyers, who they lost the game to in depressing, deflating fashion with an overtime loss.
Another game at Console Energy where the Penguins were outplayed by the Flyers. They blew a 2-0 lead, and then there was a cross-check of Crosby after Sidney Crosby after one goal, and then there was Dan Biles was sending out his. There's a check by Joe Vitale. There was Dan Biles sending out a bunch of his tough guys, I guess, and then Peter Laviolette, the Flyer coach, took exception to that. Was banging the stick on the board,
calling a gutless move and all that stuff.
But cross-checking Crosby from behind wasn't gutless. So that's
the weird thing is that play didn't even happen, at least according to the books.
You mean
the play? Because if you recall, the Penguins had I believe a power play or something. We're in the offensive zone. Sullivan risked the shot. It smacked off the back of the pipe, and the pipe off the back of the net.
Yeah.
And he thought it was a goal, and the players around the net thought it was a goal, but they kept playing. Well, on the way to the Flyers iced the puck on the play, and as Crosby was going back to the ice or back to the bench, Braden Shen came up behind Crosby and just gave him a shot right in the back. Of course, there was a penalty on that play, but then when they went back and reviewed the tape, the goal was upheld, or it was reviewed, and the goal was counted a goal, reversed the call on the ice. So all of that, the clock was rewound. So essentially, that play didn't happen, even though it did.
Well, that whole game was a mess. Really.
Yeah, the Penguins really could have put some. They still had a outside shot at catching the Rangers in that if they'd have won that game, but they came up short in that one. And then of course things got a little out of hand there. Late started with it was chippy throughout, but then it really came to a head with that, and then after the Penguins had came back from 6-3 deficit or 5-3, where they scored a goal, and then on the power play, that's what it was. Philadelphia had scored an empty net goal. We're up 6-3. The Penguins had just scored with 12 seconds left on the power play to make it 6-4.
Yeah.
And at that point, they knew it was over. Biles puts out his fourth line of Joe Vitale, Craig Adams, and Aaron Asham, and Danny Briere comes across the middle and just levels Briere, clean hit. I mean, shoulder right in the chest. Vitale,
right.
I mean.
Yeah.
But and then Philadelphia took exception to that, and fisticuffs ensued, and Laviolette broke a stick over the dividing glass between the benches, and Tony Grano standing up on the player bench. Talking with which both coaches were fined for that. I believe Laviolette got a little more, a little lighter in the wallet than assistant coach Tony Granato. But that game really built up to a
6-4. The Flyers ended up winning that game. That was the final. But that pretty much. Then you were worried they weren't going to catch the Rangers. You were worried about home ice in the first round against the Flyers, who it looked like they were locked into. But they did rally after. After the 2 Islander losses, they beat the Sabres 5-3 in a really good game for the Penguins. Then after the Flyers lost, they came back, beat the Bruins 5-3 in a good victory.
Then that was a really impressive win.
Yeah, against another solid playoff team.
Very physical.
Yeah. And go ahead.
I said, and then that's also a team that they could see down the road, and there's still obviously always a little bad blood between Boston and Pittsburgh. Going back to the Stanley Cup days, of course, and only getting worse in recent years with the Matt Cook hit on Mark Savard, and all that. So who still isn't playing. After he came back after getting hit by Cook, but I think he got hit again and either way, whatever had happened, he's still not playing either. So Boston does not have kind, warm, fuzzy feelings in Pittsburgh.
And that's why I thought that was a big, because they had lost 3 or 4 games, so that I kind of thought they were going to lose that game too. So I thought that was a pretty big win for them. They righted the ship, and then they came back with a real nice win against the Rangers, 5-2. That was a very good win there.
Yeah, and some detractors might say, "Oh, they rested Lundqvist that night. They started Baron,
Right.
other players were out, and nonetheless, I mean, it counted in the standings, and that game clinched the 4th seed for the Penguins. So they, of course, to play Philadelphia in the upcoming playoff series, but." That game was not without its dramatic elements as well. There were fireworks during the game and a little more coming out of the locker room through the media as well.
Yeah, was it Tortorella was complaining, calling Crosby and Malkin, well, he didn't call them, but he said the big stars for the Penguins were criers or something.
Dirty is what they used, some of the dirty, or maybe that was confusing. That was a bad week to be a Penguin because you were getting shouted at names from Peter Laviolette, head coach of the Flyers, Craig Berube, assistant coach of the Flyers. He's the one that called Crosby Malkin 2 of the dirtiest players on the team. Who, I guess, if you subscribe to the feeling or the notion,
takes one to know.
Berube would know. He had over 3,100 penalty minutes in various stints around the league with Philadelphia. I think he really played for Calgary and Washington too. So. The Penguins franchise is well aware of Craig Berube and what kind of a player he was. So
his comments.
He would know what it takes to be a edgy player, I guess. Maybe if you want to put a positive spin on it. So he knows what goes on and obviously what would come on, what kind of play comes out, what kind of grit is needed in the playoffs.
And also, what about Mike Milbury, the national announcer? He called, said something about Bylsma should take the skirt off when he didn't confront Laviolette in the Flyer game. Then he was cutting on Crosby, saying he was kind of a punk.
I don't know
what's up with all these people. The Penguins are a very hated team. You can use the feeling around the league, aren't they?
Yeah, and I don't know what horse Milbury has in all of this, but I just kind of discount his comments and just kind of, you hear him and you start hearing like Charlie Brown teacher voice, just like wah wah wah.
Yeah.
But and of course Tortorella, coach of the Rangers, called one of the most arrogant teams in the league and all this. But I mean, when you have the target, they have the target on their backs. I mean, plain and simple. When you have that much talent and a lot of the experts are picking the Penguins to go the distance and win the cup and. With all the scoring power, and then they get Crosby back for the last handful of games. Crosby's actually named 3rd star of the week this past week, so he's performed very well, considering all he's gone through. And they'll need him. A healthy Crosby will go a long way. Good for an extra, I would think, round or 2 in the playoffs. Just as long as they're able to.
Speaking of Crosby, real quick, you talk about how the Penguins are hated. I know they did a piece on ESPN. I hate to put another network on there, and they talked about Crosby's concussion. This is earlier in the year. When he came back from break, Linda Cohn on ESPN, a very big Rangers fan, who she doesn't hide it at all, she says, after that, she said they came back from break, she says, well, the Rangers have 2 concussions, 2 players with concussions. Obviously, like taking a slight at the Penguins. And at the time, the Penguins also had Letang with a concussion who was out too. So she wasn't even correct. But you can just see that she hates the Penguins. And it's amazing how many people just, you'd think they'd won like 6 or 7 cups in a row right now, the way people hate them. They've only won 1 cup, and it'd be nice to see them win another one this year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them, made the Penguins start feeling like, at least all the people that aren't too fond of him, if they start to feel like Rodney Dangerfield or something, no respect, But
well, yeah, they did close the season with a game against the Flyers, a 4-2 victory. They got a couple of milestones they were trying to get there, trying to get Fleury a win to tie for the league lead. He came up short because they pulled him in that game. They wanted Malkin to get his 50th goal. He did get that. So
he clinched the Art Ross Trophy for the scoring title, and it's the 14th time a Penguin has won that prestigious award.
Right, 109 points, 50 goals, 59 assists. But Penguins have dominated this one.
Yeah, Lemieux and Yager combined for a gob of them, and the other ones have been Crosby and Malkin, of course, twice now.
Yeah.
So it's something that been spoiled in Pittsburgh with the scoring titles, but it's just something. It's still a very, very prestigious and honorable honorable accomplishment. So.
Yep. Let's go through some of the stats here. Some of the Penguins did get some nice honors, and Malcolm, of course, as we stated, was the scoring leader. Neil was 7th at 81 points. Neil led the league in power play goals with 18. He beat out Hartnell with that. Andre Fleury was 2nd in wins with 42. He had the best percentage at 42 and 17. He led in shootout wins with 9. So and then of course there's Pascal Dupuis. Let's not forget about him. Ended the season on a 17-game scoring streak. How about that? Amazing.
Yeah, it's the 3rd longest streak in team history, behind Lemieux's big long streak back in the early 80s, I believe, or early 90s, maybe late 80s, somewhere in there, I believe.
And he got sidelined by back injury, I think.
The back injury kind of caught up with him with those. But Crosby is next on the list when he had a 25-game point streak, and Dupuis, who many thought was just kind of a throw-in player with the Marian Hossa deal.
Yep, he's panned up pretty well.
Yeah, in that 08 Cup run. But yeah, I think getting back to Fleury there, it should be as great as he is, and there should be a little kind of a side note as to that win total 42, since he did accomplish that total in the shootout era when of course there are no ties, and Barrasso with the number still holds the record. There were ties back then, and not only that, but it was a different era back then, a lot more scoring going on. And to compound that, the Penguins weren't known for their smothering defense back then. They'd be known to just give up on, just kind of leave him out to dry, and he'd make this spectacular saves after save and all. But I guess looking ahead, if you want to look at the Penguins, the schedule, when they play, and who they play, or they're playing the Flyers. We know that much.
Yeah, we know the Flyers. So let's go through it real quick. I'll give you the rundown. The Rangers are the top seed, number 1 seed. The Penguins are trying to chase them. Actually, Penguins had the 2nd most points at 108, but since they finished 2nd in the division, they ended up with the 4 seed. The 2 seed is Boston. The 3 seed is Florida. Penguins are 4th. Flyers are 5th, which matches those two up. And
6th is New Jersey.
6th New Jersey. 7 is Washington, which creeped up 1 spot, and 8th is Ottawa. And Buffalo just got left out.
Buffalo had a heck of a run. They were last at one point, or 14th in the conference.
Yep, made a nice run. Yep.
Yeah, and then they lost it within the last week of the season. They couldn't pull off a win against Philadelphia in the final week, and that eliminated them from contention. So
what we got coming up here in the playoffs? What's the schedule?
7:30 in Pittsburgh, Wednesday night. They'll be playing the Flyers, and for Game 1. Game 2 is Friday night, also back in Pittsburgh, 7:30 start. Both for locally, be both on Root Sports, and everywhere else be on the NBC network or Sports Network. Sunday will be a nationally televised game. Sunday, 3 o'clock on NBC.
That one's in
Philadelphia. Game 4 is Wednesday. Another night game, 7:30 in Philly on NBC Sports Network and on Root Sports locally. Now, all the next games are obviously to be, if necessary, 5 through 7. Friday, April 20th, 7:30, back in Pittsburgh on NBC Sports. That'll be a nationally televised game there. And then Game 6 is Sunday, April 22nd, still be in Philadelphia if necessary, of course. No time has been announced or networks.
We'll see if those games are needed.
Yeah, and same thing with Game 7. No time yet, as of yet, or TV schedule. But that Game 7, if necessary, is Tuesday, April 24th. So by that time, hopefully, the next show will be talking about a Penguins win in the series and previewing the next one, whoever that might be. Yep,
and actually the next show you'll see on here will be the NHL Playoff preview, which we'll be having a show on that too. So look us up on that one.
Look for that tomorrow.
And one thing I do want to say real quick before we sign out here, thanks to John Brothers, who always shoots the show for us. I want to give him a shout out because he always does a nice job doing this. And hopefully we'll see him again and celebrate a Penguins victory, hopefully, and moving on in the playoffs. But that's it for now. The last regular season edition of Penguins Shootout signing out on Herald-Standard.com. Me and Derek, see you later.